Yeah.
Let's
do
Sports
it.
Back Talk with Boly and Ringer. And just in case you were wondering what the face looked like of that guy who was on the radio, there he is. This is Will Meyer, the sports guy at the radio station. Welcome, William.
Hello, William.
First time I've ever called you that.
Yes, it was.
Is it Willem? William?
No,
Willis?
William.
William.
William and Will.
Will and Willie and Will. Not Bill, though?
It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
I'll take that as a no. So, what, shall we start with the NFL?
Oh, thank you. That's a big hand from Will Heyer.
Should we start with the NFL? It seems like the proper place to start. I mean, for me, it seems to be the right place.
As far as we want to talk about this week or the Vikings in general?
Well, let's talk about what we saw maybe yesterday on Sunday and what maybe caught your eye, what ticks you off, what made you happy. I know what made Will happy. Le'Veon Bell's going to come back.
Le'Veon Bell is back.
Week 7. So
just announced today, Will.
Like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, and me and Will, we're kind of cohorts here, and we both have Le'Veon, so this is a great night for us.
Yeah, I get to put him in my flex spot, and 3-1 becomes 4-1, which becomes 5-1, and so on. So that's just that's what I'm hoping for before Le'Veon Bell comes back.
And what I'm hoping for is that he comes back and puts the whole Pittsburgh team into more turmoil than they already are, and they will have to blow it up. There you go.
I'm hearing what your music's playing. I look at it this way: if Le'Veon Bell ever found out you were using him as a flex, he might not show up in Week 7.
Well,
doesn't he deserve one of your RB1s?
Well, I got Ezekiel Elliott, and I've got Kerryon Johnson, who is the RB1 for the Lions, who's now the next big deal.
The next big
Where are
deal.
you? That's a stretch, my young man.
This is the same guy who said that the USA was going to come back this weekend and defeat Europe on Sunday because we were so much better at the singles.
I mean, that didn't happen. It's a different sport.
Happen.
You can't.
It wasn't even close. They got beat 7.5 to 4.5.
But the names on paper, I agree. I said 8 U.S. should win, and I mentioned right on Twitter, Tiger and Phil. Sorry, they got to win. That's just the way it is. But we don't want to talk. I got Ryder Cup on my agenda, but we don't want to get into too much of that.
Jeez, there's so much to talk about.
Probably too much. I don't know if we can make this into a 3-hour show.
Did the Bears show yesterday that they are the Central Division beast, the NFC
North Division
beast? That they are the team to beat.
What country are you from? Saying the Central Division?
That's old school. There, they used to be the Central.
What did Chris Berman? Probably you don't even know who Chris Berman is. What did he used to call it?
Come on.
The NFC North Division.
That's right. He doesn't even know what the North Division is. Still got eggshell on him.
It's going to be pick on Will Day today on the Sports Back Talk.
So
Chicago is the best team in the North right now because their defensive pass rush. If you're losing to the Bears, you're putting yourself in bad position because you have to pass the ball and you have to go up against Khalil Mack.
Yeah, but saying that they're the best, I mean, they got the best record in the division. I can't say they have
But they're
the best
playing like the best team.
But Mitchell Trubisky is Mitchell Trubisky. He was a fantasy star yesterday, but I think the better teams like the Packers and who already came back and beat them, and the Vikings defense, they're going to figure it out soon. When he runs against defenses like that, it's going to be different. This was Tampa Bay, Will.
He has no comment on it.
The Vikings defense just gave up 38.
I know.
But to the Los Angeles,
it doesn't matter. It's a 38 points.
A lot of teams are going to give up 38 to LA.
Okay, but we have. But our defense isn't every other team's.
It's true. So they're going to put up 52 against the other teams, which they've shown that they can do. They haven't had under 400 yards yet. The Rams are a good team.
Do you think the New Orleans Saints showed who the real Vikings defense are, or the Philadelphia Eagles, or both?
Ooh. That's an interesting question.
I guess I'd say both. They both put up a lot of points.
Mm-hmm. But it just seemed like the second half on against the Saints, it was like, what is this defense? So I'm thinking there was some stuff that these coaches.
I don't know. I think since the game, the NFC Championship, the coaching staff obviously hasn't shown up and prepared the players right. That's kind of what it goes to me right now.
Are you sure there aren't like 3 players who are thinking that they'd like to be playing elsewhere on that defense, or seem to be acting like they don't want to be playing for the Minnesota Vikings?
Anthony Barr is definitely one of those
55
players.
and 29 certainly don't seem like they're playing their type of football out on the field for the Vikings, because they'd rather be playing someplace else. And so until those 3 pretty key parts of the puzzle decide that they want to start playing football for the Minnesota Vikings, I don't care what the coaching staff does, because the coaches only make $300,000 a year and they're making $8 million a year.
Well, it's the whole team that's playing terribly. Trey Waynes has a holding call every third play, and then not having Everson Griffin on your team is a serious detriment to your pass rush, because you're able to.
I'm asking, why does Trey Waynes have to hold? Because they don't have the guys up front getting any pass rush, because those quarterbacks can stand back there for 3.5 days.
So it's not just 3 players, though.
Sure it is. Because the linebackers have to start doing their job to make everything else occur. The linebackers don't play, the other team can run and they can pass. Until those 2 yo-hos from UCLA decide that they want to start playing football, the Vikings aren't going anywhere. And if they don't start playing pretty soon, somebody better take the Bill Belichick approach to this and get their butts off the team. Send them down the road. Send them to LA. Send them to wherever, to Vegas.
I would agree with Anthony Barr. I would agree with what you're saying about Anthony Barr. I still think Kendricks is kind of the leader in that front 7. And, you know, about Anthony Barr, it all happened when you don't give him the contract in the offseason. Now, I'm not saying they should have given him the contract, but that's just kind of where this is stemming from in my eyes.
So you whine about it and you don't come out and play, and so when you do become a free agent next year, somebody's going to pay you a whole lot of money.
That's what he's doing.
But that's costing
makes no sense. If you really want to leave this team, you'd be playing your hiney off so that somebody will come and pay you Khalil Mack dollars, which he's not Khalil Mack. I know he doesn't play the same, but he'd be acting like he wanted to go. But of course, Khalil Mack acted like a yo-ho, and look what he got.
Well, it's costing Anthony Barr money. Let's face that. And Ringer, you know this better than I and Will, in that on the defense, there's 11 players, and they all have their assignments. If one's not doing their job, it affects the overall game plan. And if the linebacker's out of position, somebody else tries to make up for it, all of a sudden they're out of position. So right now I think the defense is in turmoil. They're not all on the same page. It's fixable. Zimmer's message has been there for the last 5 years, so the message hasn't changed. They just need to do their assignments and we'll be all right.
I agree. But I don't know if that's going to happen.
It might not. But Trey Waynes, I do agree with Will there. The guy's been a porous pick, but if you look back at Rhodes, his first 2-3 years were very average, and then they finally reach a point where they get better.
Is Alexander any better?
Mike Hughes is
he any better?
Answering this question, Mike Hughes has planted himself as the second best corner on the team.
Okay, so when you're playing a team like the LA Rams, I'll use them as an example, who come out more often than not with at least three receivers, and a lot of times 4, that means you're probably going to have Trey Waynes on the field. So unless you get some pass rush up front, which we didn't see a whole lot of the other night, and I agree, the LA Ram receivers made some things happen. They got deep on us and everything else, but I don't think it was just Trey Waynes who was having an issue. I think every one of those guys was having an issue. Why did our good friend kick the flag when he got called for the holding call?
That was Rhodes.
Why is Rhodes? Why is he acting? Why is he
frustration, Ringer. You lose to Buffalo, and then you're getting pounded by the Rams, who probably got the most prolific offense in football right now. I mean, if I'm a Todd Gurley owner in fantasy, I'm kind of disappointed because that guy should have about 15 touchdowns, and they just keep heaving the ball.
Yeah.
Every time he gets the ball, he gets 9 yards. So.
Yeah, and the scary part was at the end of the game he had like 75 yards rushing and he had like 70 yards receiving.
And big chunk of that.
It didn't seem like he was even part of the game plan.
Big chunk of that came off of Anthony Barr coverage.
Yeah. But is he supposed to cover a running back out of the backfield or a wide receiver?
Well, he's a linebacker, so that's one of his jobs as being a linebacker.
Wasn't it a wide receiver that caught that ball?
Against Kendricks?
Yeah.
Well, and there's also Todd Gurley going into the seam against a big linebacker.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Did Anthony Barr get worse over the year? I can't believe that. I can't believe he's tanking it on purpose, because if he is, he's costing himself money because his contract demands are going to.
Is he that good?
Is he as good as people think?
That's what the question I'd like to ask. Is he that good?
You know, they always said, Boly, you're not that good. You're just playing a good system. Ain't that right, Sheldon?
There you go.
Sheldon Boly, he was a big defensive tackle back on the 77 Bronco football team.
Silver Bay 8-1, right?
Big boys. We had some. Our whole defensive and offensive line all went over 6 foot, over 210 pounds. So we had some big boys back then, Ringer.
You want to put anything last in on the Vikings? How about the NFL? What else? No?
I have nothing more to add to that. I mean, I look at it, we got 45-minute show, Will, and I can tell you're in the zone right now, okay? And if we keep in the zone on all these topics, this could be a 2-hour show, and we could get canceled.
I don't know why you're going so short. 2-hour shows, I mean, I feel like that's pretty
normal.
Our advertisers demand it. How many advertisers we got? We do have
Looney's
one.
Brew.
Oh, Looney's Brew. That's
Here,
right. We are at Looney's
here
Brew.
for us. Looney's Brew is always here for us.
Yeah.
They're our lone sponsor. All right, you want to move on to the Ryder Cup, or you want to talk NHL?
Real quick on the Ryder Cup.
Ryder Cup, well, you already know where I'm at on that. Disappointment abounds. More than one player. I'll put this out there. I assume you guys probably already saw this. But Patrick Reed threw Jim Furyk under the bus today on the radio, on Twitter, wherever he was, and basically said he blindsided him by now pairing him with probably the second best player in the world, so that he could look good and whatever else. So Patrick Reed has now been ixnayed for my whatever fan club he's done. He might as well move to Europe, as far as I'm concerned.
Wow.
Because he's no American when you got to be paired with somebody that makes you a better player. Are you sure it just isn't because he's the best player? You ride his coattails?
Well, how do you follow that?
You just have to go back to 2016 when he took it to Rory. You can't just completely exile a guy. That's not how this.
He just exiled Jim Furyk. He just threw his captain underneath the bus. He can go home.
Where was Webb Simpson on day one?
Huh?
No.
There were lots of questionable calls that there weren't
You're going to go
correct
after the captain
parents.
because he didn't pair you with Jordan Spieth? You poor boy. Oh, you got paired with Tiger Woods and whoever else you got paired with over the weekend. Oh.
Well, Tiger Woods has obviously shown in the Ryder Cup that he cannot get the job done.
Yeah. Well, it's real simple, guys. Here's the formula. Phil Mickelson did it to Tom Watson 6 years ago when they were overseas, and he blamed Tom Watson for the U.S. debacle. And now this year with you, I heard Reed wasn't real happy, and now it's been quoted as he's made some comments. To me, that's totally wrong, and I 100% agree with it. Never throw anybody else under the bus for your misfortunes or for you not succeeding. That's an easy thing to do. Also, over in Europe, they design their golf courses. They actually pick golf courses because they know the European team players. We picked Bethpage Black. I guarantee you, in 2 years, there might not even be rough.
Are we going to Kohler, Wisconsin?
Well, that's Whistling Straits. Okay, Whistling Straits.
Come on, we got to go.
And think about Whistling Straits. That's a link-style golf course, which is great for the Europeans. So Americans don't think that well.
They can change that over the next.
They can. They can go there and cut a lot of grass. But here's the deal. Americans, here's my reasoning why the Americans don't do as well. I mean, Tiger Woods and Bubba Watson were both vice captains on 2 years ago winning team. This year they were combined 0-6 between them. Bubba went 0-2, or wasn't even in any match, or 0-3. But here's the deal. Americans are trained and brought up to play golf individually. And growing up, and I wasn't near any of these players, but when I played golf, I never thought about playing on teams except when we got together and played, quarter skin asset stuff, and not big money, but we had a team and we played best ball, but we never hit alternate shots and things like that. So in my opinion, golf is an individual sport. It is not a team sport, much like bowling and much like any kind of individual. Swimming is not a team sport, even though it is in high school. And some swimmers might get mad at me for saying that, but you're still going out there for your, because whenever you announce on the sports, you guys always say personal best. Well, it isn't the team personal, it's the individual. But to me, golf's an individual sport. Americans are not groomed to do that, so that's why the Europeans will be better in most cases.
But everybody's complaining that, well, we can't win in Europe. We can't win in Europe. Well, you're talking about designing the courses. The courses were designed in a certain way, set up a certain way to take the advantage away from the Americans. When they come back in 2 years, that's why they did so well at Hazeltine 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Because that course was set up to allow the bombers to bomb and not be penalized for that, where the Europeans put a course up there and we couldn't make the right choice.
Here's what I want the Americans to do next Ryder Cup. If they win or lose, why don't all of them just pull up all their major championship trophies and put them up on the shelf and say, wouldn't you guys like to try to win one of these? Hey, Ian Poulter? Huh?
Ian Poulter will never win anything.
He's like the Patrick
like that,
Reed of Europe.
Oh, come on. No, Patrick Reed won the Masters.
Exactly. Did you see Eduardo Molinari, who used to be on the PGA Tour, Francisco's brother, go after him? Captain America, looks like he didn't get his passport to go.
Oh my God!
I thought that was one of the most humorous tweets ever.
And the thing about it is the system, and this is what they talked about a few years ago, is the system flawed, how people are getting picked to get onto the Ryder Cup team. What's Patrick Reed done for the last 3 months? I mean, he hasn't been at the top of many leaderboards, so you take somebody in there who has not been playing well. Phil Mickelson is an understandable pick, but has he played good golf lately? Tiger Woods was a good pick because he had played so well over the past few weeks. I thought that was a good choice.
He's still not a Ryder Cup player.
But he looked exhausted.
Oh, he looked like, what am I playing this for?
He looked uninspired. He wasn't there.
Yeah.
Who else do you pick?
Yeah, the good question. Who else do you pick? One that I think about is Kisner. Straight hitter, keeps in the fairway, good putter. He would have been a good match for that course. I mean, Webb Simpson, you brought up a great point. Webb Simpson should have played in all 5 because he's a straight hitter. Okay, keeps it out of the rough. All these other bombers, and tell you what, that was a U.S. team just loaded with talent. I never seen.
Dustin Johnson.
They couldn't keep it in the fairway. Koepka, they couldn't keep in the fairway, and they're too proud to hit irons.
To pull it back. Yeah. And I will say this: Jim Furyk got thrown under the bus Friday after the Friday rounds on both rounds. That he already had his mind made up. This was the way it was going to be. All 12 were going to play on Friday.
Yeah.
He made some choices about who he was going to keep out, who he was going to pair together. And, sometimes the first time you're a captain, you think you got a good idea and it doesn't work out. Hey, that's what it's all about.
I'll be watching in 2 years. You?
I mean, yeah, but then we have to go into the conversation of just about the Ryder Cup, and it needs to. They've got too much going on. They've got too much Ryder Cup. They've got too much President's Cup. There's too much going on.
Let the Euros play the Australian team 1 year. Just alternate those teams. The U.S. shouldn't have to play Ryder, Presidents, Riders, Presidents.
No, and it takes away the mystique of it too.
So we should take away the NCAA basketball tournament every other year. So this March, let's just put the NCAA basketball. Let's just crown let's do a mythical.
But that's a bunch of teams.
I tried to warn you about these things.
That's a bunch of teams going into a tournament. Whereas in country competition, characteristically, they're in stretched periods of times. The Olympics, between nations, every 4 years. The World Cup, every 4 years. All these big events like that. Yeah. Are spanned out, and you just got to keep.
So if the Ryder Cup was every 4 years, you'd be happy with
that. Would make it even better. That would make watching the Ryder Cup much more enjoyable.
The problem with that is golfers have their end zone about a 2 year to 3 year period. Tiger was kind of one of the extreme guys, like a Patrick Reed. He's a 2 or 3 year guy.
Well, okay,
then he's going to disappear.
The PGA isn't there to cater the players; it's to cater their business.
Cater them. Cash.
And they want people watching it. And that'll generate more people watching it.
You don't think that the Tour Championship was set the week before the Ryder Cup?
Which I think is another mistake. all the good players on the U.S. are playing in that. Half the European teams already over there playing. But anyway, that's enough for Ryder Cup.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
NHL?
Hey, the Euros are better.
It's only October 1st. The NHL season starts in 2 days.
There's not even ice out there yet.
This is like this is your sport. Will.
Oh yeah.
You told me that in the office.
Oh, I love hockey.
Yeah.
So
Let's do it.
The Capitals get to raise the banner on Wednesday night, so they're the first up on NBCSN on Wednesday night, and then there's a late game, a doubleheader, and then the Wild get started on Thursday, and here we go. So.
Well, San Jose plays the second part of that doubleheader. Of course, we all know the big signing there. They got Erik Karlsson, the free agent to be, and the creme de la creme that everybody wanted. Erik Karlsson is going to be out there with Brent Burns, and that's going to be a formidable duo. And
so you're picking them to go to the Stanley Cup?
I can go over who I think is going to get in the playoffs.
Okay, so let's. You want to start in the West, I assume.
Well, Western Central Division. We didn't prep you for
Oh
this.
my
so
gosh.
Your best advice I could give you, Will, is just whatever.
Well,
whatever
how
Boly
about-
says in hockey.
How about I tell you what I think before you start going?
That's fair enough.
I'll just give you one though, because I think
be really
Winnipeg will win our division.
I'm not going to argue that they will or won't. Will.
Okay.
But yeah, and why do you say Winnipeg?
I'm gonna try not to
Give us too much information.
No, I'm not
You're gonna
gonna.
give
I'm not
supposed
gonna
to?
try and guess my way through this. But what it seems to me is, when people talk about Winnipeg, is they had a young team, and this young team has kind of matured and blossomed into kind of a force.
Yeah, they
That's
lost.
kind of the
They
layman's
lost
terms I
enough
can
to
give
get
it.
really good players in the draft, where the Minnesota Wild have won enough to stay away from.
They've
the
won
top,
enough,
top
and,
3 picks.
and yeah, just kind of mediocre-ish, I would say. The Wild are a very mediocre team.
I will get to that. So Winnipeg, who you got coming out of the East, Will? Washington, Pittsburgh, Boston. Trying to help you out here, buddy.
Well, I know Pittsburgh's got Mason Crosby. I don't need your notes. I'm good enough.
Trying to insult you on TV.
Alex Ovechkin, I mean, they've always been a team that they'll get to the playoffs. And last year, if I'm not mistaken, it was their first year breaking through Pittsburgh and then winning it all. I think, they're going to have a good shot because they seem like they have one of the best players on the ice right now.
Yeah, Chip Chair and a chance in the NHL playoffs. So you're saying Washington, Winnipeg, and who's going to win the Stanley Cup?
Winnipeg.
Okay, that's not a. I mean, I bet you they're out in Vegas. Not that we condone gaming,
See, at first,
but they're probably sitting at about 8 to 1 or 9 to 1 odds, which is pretty good.
At first, I was just talking about Winnipeg getting out of the Central, winning the Central Division, but I'll take them to win the Stanley
I
Cup.
like your style, Ringer. Any?
I'll go this way. I'll go Winnipeg, Nashville, top of the
West?
top of
Central?
the Central Division. I would put probably either St. Louis and Dallas there. I don't know where the Wild are going to be. I'd like to say that they're gonna find a way, but I don't know if it's there.
Who'd they bring in to change the team?
Well,
Not much.
They replaced two fourth line players with 2 new fourth line players.
All right, so that's telling me that they're way down the depth chart.
Yeah, we're talking Eric Fair. Because
So how do you expect a team that's been mediocre for years and years and years
That's
to
Paul
get
Vinton,
better?
are you listening?
That's been the big question.
Are you listening,
well,
Paul?
Of course, Paul's listening.
Paul, not you, Paul. Another Paul. Paul Fenton, GM of the Wild. Are you listening? He knows what he's saying.
No.
Yeah. So, all right. Who do you
Well,
got?
some good observations. Not bad, Will. I'm actually pretty impressed. Well, Ringer, out of the Western Central, we'll make it short.
Yep.
Nashville, Winnipeg, Colorado's going to finish in third.
Okay.
St. Louis will be fourth. Out will be Minnie, Dallas, and Chicago.
Okay.
For just the exact reason that Will asked about is, where did the Wild improve? They didn't. It's the same team. They replaced Eric Fair and put him in place of Cullen, and then they brought in J.T. Brown for Daniel Winnick. So there you go. There's your changes. I will give Fenton a little bit of credit in that he wants to self-evaluate his team. I mean, he tried to move Coyle this year, but he got offered
Doodly.
basically like Boston beans from the Bruins and teams like that. So he said he wants to self-evaluate his own players. So if it goes like I think it's going to go, Fenton will be making lots of moves at the trade deadline. Wild will not make the playoffs this year for the first time in 8 years.
Okay, I'll go out to the Pacific. I'm going to throw these 4 teams out there, and then you can tell me whether you think I'm right. Vegas, Anaheim, San Jose, and LA.
I say Vegas does not make it.
Doesn't make the playoffs?
No, doesn't make the playoffs.
Doesn't even make the playoffs.
They got a bunch of players who were mad because they were let go by their teams. They're upset.
Yeah.
They can't use that card this year. Okay?
Yeah, I agree.
So the Hollas, who had a career year, Alex Tuck, who the Wild gave up on, they'll be average. They'll be who they were 2 years ago when the Wild had them. So I say Las Vegas does not make the playoffs.
Calgary, then?
I like Calgary a lot.
Okay.
I got them
Calgary a
reaching
lot.
third. Edmonton will get back in. McDavid's a franchise player. And the Kings will knock out Las Vegas for that last spot. San Jose is by far the class of this
So
Pacific.
Is the Pacific Division the best division in hockey?
No, I still think the Central.
Still think it is.
Well, Wild are solid. They're going to be 90, 92 points, but they are going to get in.
Make the playoffs.
Yeah.
All right, let's go out east, and I suppose we should start in the Metropolitan.
5 teams in the Metropolitan will get in the playoffs. And
5 of them, 'cause
only 3 from the
Okay,
Atlantic.
so we're going with Pittsburgh, Philly,
Yep.
the Rangers,
Nope.
Nope.
Defending champs.
Caps,
New Jersey and Carolina is my little dark horse. I mean, Carolina with Aho and Skinner. They got some nice players. 4 solid D, good goaltending. Look for Carolina to make a little splash this year. Not a big splash, okay,
But enough to get.
they'll be relevant enough to be in the playoff talk. Out in the other one, I think 3 top high-end teams.
Columbus.
No, Columbus
No.
does not get in.
Columbus does not get in.
They're actually in the Metropolitan.
Sorry.
But over in the Atlantic, Boston, Toronto, Tampa Bay, all 3 could win the Cup this year.
Yeah.
All 3. So they're really high end with the top 3. They're bottom 4 like Detroit, and those teams are a little bit weaker and yeah.
Here, you want to see this while I'm laughing about it? It's a picture of Aaron Rodgers, and it says the face you make when
You got to
smoke
remember,
the team who smoked the Vikings.
I did overhear their conversation. They're from Wisconsin, so consider the sources.
Oh, freaking
Yeah,
cheese
yeah.
heads, you're telling me. All right.
So Rangers, Columbus, Isles will not make it. Stanley Cup, I got Nashville against Toronto. They will be the 2 teams. I like your Winnipeg pick, though. Nashville, I think, is still the quality of the West and the Central.
Even over San Jose, who you're so
You
high
know,
on?
Burns and Carlson are really scary to watch on the power play, but if they're not on the power play as much as I think, Joe Thornton's coming back, the 40-year-old wonder kind, and you still need a team come playoff time. You need the right mix. I mean, yes, Alex Ovechkin's a top 5 player in the NHL, but his play helped the rest of that team want to play just like him. And I don't think if Ovechkin's up here like he was, but his team plays up here where it's never been. And that's why Washington won the Stanley Cup. You got to mold together as a team at the Stanley Cup time, and if you don't, you will get knocked off.
Let's talk MLB here. The playoffs got started, well, really,
Tonight.
Really today.
2 play-ins.
They got started with the 2 games. The Brewers win the NL Central, beating the Cubs in Chicago. And as we started airtime here,
They already played?
Yeah.
Who won?
The Brewers beat the Cubs.
How about that
3-0.
Yelich?
How about it?
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about an MVP candidate. Go ahead.
And I was coming in bottom of the 8th when we started the show. Dodgers leading Colorado 5-0. I don't see the Dodgers giving up a 5-run lead.
Do you know who started that game?
No,
Okay.
I do not know. So that means the Dodgers will be the NL West champs. The Brewers are the NL Central champs, and they have the best record in the NL with 95 wins.
Yep.
96 if you count today's win. So that kind of sets up. We'll talk National League first. So that sets up the the Rockies and the Cubs in the one game wild card on Tuesday or Wednesday. And so who are we taking?
And the winner will play Milwaukee, right?
The winner will play Milwaukee.
Oh, tonight for that game. Again, I haven't seen any of the pitching matchups, but on paper, I still think the Cubs are probably the better team between Colorado and the Cubs.
I guess I'd say the Cubs, just because the Rockies haven't been. It seems like they've been have had a few times to make the playoffs outright, and they haven't been able to do it.
Good point.
Okay. Cubs then, if they win the wild card, and I agree they will go right back and play the Brewers in a best of 5 series, and then Atlanta will take on LA.
Oh,
I'll take LA and the Cubs.
I'm going to go LA and Milwaukee. Milwaukee seems to be in the zone right now.
They are 20-7.
This Yelich is so good. And if you want to watch one player on Milwaukee, the guy's hit for 2 cycles this year. The probability is like you could win the Powerball before that happens. But
who are the Brewers playing?
Brewers are going to play the Cubs, and the Dodgers will play the Braves.
Well, I thought the Cubs are going to be playing the Rockies.
They play the wild card, that one game, and they're going to win that. Right?
Okay, all right. No, I see where you're going now. I just had to make sure. No, my mind, I just had to make sure that's how we were working. I guess I'll take the Cubs here.
Okay, and the Dodgers or the Braves?
The Dodgers, because they got Brian Dozier, they got our guy.
Oh, that's the difference maker.
So the Cubs and the Dodgers, and
I've had the Dodgers since day one. If you go back to when did we do this in April?
Day one, since I said it 10 seconds ago.
So out of the Cubs and the Dodgers, I'm taking the Cubs. You taking the Cubs or the Dodgers?
The Dodgers.
He's taking the Dodgers. Okay, so
do you say everything I do?
All that money's gonna pay off for him.
Let's go over to the AL side. New York versus Oakland in the wild card game.
Oakland.
New York.
I got to go New York.
Absolutely. Yeah. So now you're going to get the Boston versus New York.
Oh, jeez. I'm going to say New York in an upset, right? Because Boston.
No, wait, whoa. That's right. Yes, that's right.
Boston won their most games they've ever won.
Okay,
the Yankees have done that millions of times. The Yankees are going to be the underdog. The Yankees will win this series.
Boston.
That pitching's pretty good.
Boston. And then the Astros and the Indians.
Astros are my team.
I know.
Yeah, they're my team too.
Astros versus whoever. Astros. So it's the Astros versus. I've got the Cubs. Does that sound familiar?
I got the Astros versus the Dodgers.
And you got the Astros versus the Dodgers.
I'm going Dodgers.
Going Dodgers.
Yeah, Dodgers.
Kershaw.
I'll take the AL. So there you go.
Will, you don't have to say everything.
Well,
it's. I mean, seriously.
I'm just trying to run through players that play for these teams as quick as I can.
We'll give Will a little.
We're not here to be right. We're here to stir the pot.
Just to stick up for Will. We didn't prep him on any of this. Me and you knew what we were talking about. We didn't tell Will anything.
Fine. I mean, I wing it. Not every day.
He also said that the Gopher football team was going to win 8 games the other day.
I don't think I said that in a serious fashion, but sure. 8 games, ski you out, row the boat.
Welcome to the Falls, where sarcasm is our second language.
Yeah.
Paul, what's your question?
What do you prefer, minnows or slugs?
Do we prefer minnows or slugs? Is Paul's question.
If you're starving out in the middle of winter, what do you prefer?
If you're if you're starving, the question is this: if you're starving, do you eat minnows or slugs? You got both of them. Which one are you doing to stop starvation? And
slugs.
You going slugs.
Yeah.
Are you going to cook them, or are you just eating them raw?
Well, I don't know if you're going to be able to cook them.
Okay.
What kind of spices would you throw on them?
You slow down over there. We're still answering the first part of the question.
I'm taking minnows. The slug thing, I don't know.
What are slugs? Is those little snail type?
Yeah.
I'm with you. I can eat minnows. It's a baby fish.
Yeah, that's
in your shots.
Yeah.
Okay, and what are we seasoning with them with? Just salt and pepper, as far as I'm concerned.
Lowry's.
I would go Old Bay. Huh? Being a fish.
There you go.
Lowry's.
All right, what else you got for us, Paul?
Great. Wait. More questions.
Cross-country runner died this month. You had a football player die this month. What do you recommend for high school people or people in sports that they do before the game to hydrate themselves, make sure that they have enough energy? What's preventative damage control of that?
We're being asked, there was a cross-country runner and a football player who passed away this past month competing.
Yeah.
So what do we do to prevent that from happening? Of course, having the proper medical screening exam before you participate to hopefully try to find some of the heart problems or whatever that I think some of these kids are dying from. Of course, some of that stuff, I don't care how many medical exams you have, aren't going to stop all of that stuff. I mean, kids, people, it's the body, things happen, things go screwy and work out, so I don't think we can prevent it all. There's so many positives that we get out of sports that, yes, it's very unfortunate that somebody would pass away, but I think at the same time, the things that happen, we need to continue having our kids and young adults doing these things and try to prevent the best we can, but after that, I don't know if there's much more we can do.
But what would you recommend before the sport activity or,
You mean the day of?
Well, Paul,
hydrate?
I mean, these things unfortunately are going to happen. I remember when I was playing college hockey, we got exams, and I had an irregular heartbeat. So they brought me in for more tests, and it just happened to be that day. But they would not allow me to go out and participate or practice even until I got full medical clearance. So I think what Ringer mentioned is you got to do the preventative checkups, but there's nothing foolproof, right? I mean, you look back at who's the great basketball player that died on the court.
Hank Gathers.
Hank Gathers. I mean, a lot of times the players don't tell the symptoms to the the players don't tell the trainers that they're not feeling right, or they know they got a regular heartbeat, but the medicine makes them tired, so they don't take their medicine. So there's all kinds of. I'm not a doctor, but these things unfortunately happen. It's sad as they may be. I don't think there's a foolproof method out there to prevent any of this from happening.
Yeah, and as far as conditioning the kids, getting them warmed up, I think some of the times it's the conditions. You send out players into the heat. Of course, what we would consider heat here in Minnesota is probably pretty nice in Florida or Alabama or some of these places. So where we would probably give kids breaks because it was so hot and humid, in Florida they'd be saying, this is every day. So conditions, what the body is used to, I think has to play a part in that. And
Well, just so you know, Paul does this to us all the time. He doesn't quiz us on what he's going to ask, and then that's a difficult question, and
there's a lot there.
Very good question. That's why I love the guy. But boy, what would you do?
Well, I think eating right and drinking right is.
I think you do I think you do the second one really well.
But not so much. I mean, like, you're talking drinking, whether you're drinking soda, that's not drinking, you're not hydrating.
That's right.
Yeah.
You are dehydrating yourself actually in that point.
But drinking alcohol doesn't mean. I mean, that's actually worse for you because it actually dehydrates you. So.
And then back when I was in cross country skiing or running, we would have before a big meet, we'd have a big pasta fest the night before.
The carbohydrate thing, yeah.
Or whatever else, but it doesn't mean like, even though you may piss clear, doesn't mean that you're hydrated because you might have been drinking a lot of pop or whatever else. Water, to a certain extent, is very good. You need to balance it. Okay. It's a big balancing act.
Okay, I agree. Oh, you're exhausted.
Lloyd, what do you got for us? Come on, give us one question.
I'm down on Minnesota.
You're down on Minnesota. How about Joe Mauer? Give us a Joe Mauer. What was is Joe Mauer retiring?
I think so.
Lloyd says retiring.
These are.
Paul doesn't care.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Will.
he's going to retire, but this is the only good thing in Minnesota sports that's happening, and that's what's sad is every time one of these things happens, we get excited about it. And yes, it's really cool that what they did, but we shouldn't go all great for Twins ownership and management when they're the problem in Minneapolis.
I'll say this. I'll believe Joe Mauer is retired when the Twins come out opening day, March 28th at Target Field or 29th, whatever it is, and Joe Mauer is not in uniform that day. I'll believe it when I see it, not until then. Even if he says I'm retired, I won't believe it till he's not at spring training swinging a bat.
Here's my take on it. He would not have let what happened yesterday, okay, during the startup of the baseball game and the continuation of him putting the mask on and going behind the plate for one pitch, he would have not have let that happen if he wasn't leaving the game. So in my opinion, he's officially going to retire, and that will be the last we see of Joe Mauer.
Okay, I'll amend my last statement. He may not ever play for the Twins again, but don't be surprised if the Yankees came with a big bag of money.
Yeah, he can't.
Like $24 million for one season.
Wow.
Joe, come play with us for $24 million.
Put some fans in the seats.
Joe's going to go play baseball for $24 million.
Here's the
He
big.
knows that he can't get that, but if somebody came and offered it to him, he'd take it.
I'm going to end this with a big question. Okay, 3 batting titles. 2009 MVP batted .365 that year.
Incredible.
By far the best for a catcher. 6-time All-Star, 3-time Gold Glove. He does have 3 batting titles. The MVP, like I said, of 2009 as a catcher. Here's the big question. From Cretin-Durham Hall, 3-sport athlete, could have went to Florida State to play football, scored 20 points a game in basketball. Is he a future, not Twins Hall of Famer, a Major League Baseball Hall of Famer? Well, you got the floor.
Yes.
Whoa.
Yes, definitely. I mean, he had the Twins uniform on for 15 years. That in itself means something. And just all the accolades that he accumulated over the years. It's unfortunate that we didn't win a championship. That's not on his fault. Obviously, you know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, I think the real question is whether he's first ballot or not.
Whoa.
I would say, I'll say this, if he'd have done the Tom Brady thing and gave back some of his $23 million that he was making every year, or $25 million at the end, or whatever he was making, and decided that I'll take only $15 million this year, and you can defer some of my money to later years so that I don't have $24 million sitting here, so you guys can bring in another stick.
Well, what does that have to do with him getting in the Hall of Fame?
You make choices to help yourself get into the Hall of Fame, and by winning, he would have upped his chances of getting into the Hall of Fame. He might have been a first balloter if the Twins would have won something, let's say the last 6 years. But they unfortunately only made the playoffs once over the last 6 years, and they got in as a wild card. They never won the division again. And I think there's, for lack of a better term, there's a stain on his career because of how the last 6 years played out. He batted .365. He won those 3 batting titles. He did all those things. But over the last 6 or 7 years, once he got that big contract, the Twins didn't win. He batted, I'd like to know what his batting average.
275 maybe?
275 maybe his career batting average over the last 7 seasons. That, I mean, if you're batting 275 and you hit 200 home runs over 6 seasons, you're a Hall of Famer. You bat 275 and you hit 25 home runs in those 6 seasons combined, to me you're not a Hall of Famer. And he'll probably get in at some point when there's a lack of stud players, but I can't see him getting in on the first ballot. No.
My take is he'll be borderline Bert Blyleven type, Jack Morris. If he gets in, it'll be late in his years. He'll be in his 60s. Again, probably because of a weaker class. If he would have played catcher all the way up to now, I think that would have gave him an automatic spot. But his fault, it was not his fault that he had to not catch anymore because of the concussions. And more importantly, a lot of people don't know, is his knees. And I think that's the main reason he's going to retire, is his knees are basically shot. And I say, I don't know, or I don't think he'll get in. Okay, I hope he does. But I don't think, like you mentioned, his last 6 years are going to hurt him. No title at all. He can put on his mantle. He does have that one MVP, but so does Justin Morneau. Does that mean Justin Morneau gets in? I think he is a great person, though.
Oh.
And when it comes to the Hall of Fame, that's going to come into play with a lot of these voters. And he will be a early inductee in the Minnesota Twins Hall of Fame. That's a given. He'll be.
That's what we say about all these Minnesota athletes. You know, they didn't bring us the big one, but you know, man, they were great people. I'm sick of it.
Hey, Kent Herbeck won 2. Kurt Herbeck won 2 World Series titles.
Almost 30 years ago.
Yeah, is he gonna get in the Hall of Fame? I mean, you got to do something more than just win a batting title a couple of times.
No, I'm saying that I'm sick of the the mantra
Yeah, I hear ya.
of these nice guys. I don't care about. I don't.
Ken Turbick was a nice guy, and he won championships. I love Ken Turbick. I've never met the son of a gun, but you could go up and give him a big hug, and he'd high five you, and he'd talk Minnesota with you, and he'd whatever. And he's a Minnesota guy.
So you've got the one out.
He's won championships.
And see, you've got the one outlier in the complete history of Minnesota sports.
All right, I got a question for
See, I'm still up. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Of all the teams that are out there right now, you have Green Bay Packers owned by the city. Is there ever going to be a team like the Green Bay Packers, baseball, football,
Never.
whatever it is, owned by the city again?
Never.
That they don't threaten to leave?
Never. That'll never happen again.
Why not?
Because that's not. There's no way of making that work in this day and age where they'd figure out a way to get everybody going in the same direction.
So how did Green Bay Packers?
Because this is their 100th season, and 100 years ago, everybody got in behind the packing industry. Everybody, that's what they were there for, and they all got in behind it. And Curly Lambeau had a plan, and he put it all together, and he got people to buy in, and the whole city got in behind it. Cities
Yeah.
get behind it now; they just don't get a piece in the ownership. That's all.
Great question, but I agree with Ringer. There's no way ever. Just for the fact that how much does it cost to buy an NFL franchise? You think a city taxpayer base is going to
I would guess it's
put
going to be
out
a
the money
billion
for
the
that?
next time they get in.
Yeah.
So,
To be $1 billion, and the city of, say, who's the city? Oklahoma City is not going to fork over $1 billion with taxpayer money.
Yeah, but then again, every 10 years or 20 years, the city or the team threatens to leave unless we build you a new stadium.
Yeah, it makes
why
me,
I said-
That's
That's
where
how
I love
city-
Green Bay in a way.
Yeah, I can hardly
They
wait till-
have that. They're never going to move.
yeah. Yeah. I like your style, though. You're always out there. I like your style. Anything else?
Boyd's good. Thanks,
All right,
everybody.
don't take us too serious.